Andre, welcome to the AO Show and welcome back to the Australian Open.
Thank you. It's nice to be back.
And you've just had a really interesting experience here in the Cinema Sessions studio. What was happening here?
Yeah, they were taking me through some memories, or down memory lane a little bit. Some of the highlights from the years gone by.
So many great memories, and we're going to delve into a few of them. But I was just informed that you had a nice little interaction with Carlos Alcaraz on the way through. Tell us about.
Yeah, it was the first time I had the chance to meet him, which I was thrilled about. I've only sort of been able to appreciate him as a fan, watching him play, and he's just so easy to like, even from a distance, and then meeting him, his spirit is so warm, and his smile it's like it lights you up, so just watching him sort of capture the imagination of the public, I'm guilty as charged, like I'm a fan.
It's amazing how certain players can just capture you in an instant. It might be a point, it might be something they said in a press conference, but what are the qualities of someone like Alcaraz that captures your attention?
It's just so authentic, right? So real. So sort of beyond his years. You shouldn't be that comfortable in your own skin at 20 years old. It's like, I know I wasn't, but yeah, watching him doesn't matter if he's winning or losing, you can't tell. You just look at him and you're just like, he's just all about doing the best he can out there, and such a competitor and such an incredible athlete. But we marvel. Me and Steph, we love watching him play. It's like we just go, look at this guy go. It's like you want to watch him.
I think one of his mantras is play with aggression and play with joy. Take us back to when you were a similar age. What were the defining qualities that you played with, do you think, as a 20-year-old?
I think I came onto the tour and probably was one of the first ones that was able to bring, let's just say, a level of offense off both wings, whether the ball was up or down, and that kind of give you a little advantage on the field. So aggression, I totally understood. It was me learning to control that aggression that became the kind of the path towards maximizing any potential I had. But I was a victim of of how I felt. My emotions sometimes got the better of me on a tennis court, whether it was a good day or whether it wasn't a good day, and I didn't have that discipline of sort of leaving the emotion outside. I kind of allowed it to fuel me, and then sometimes I allowed it to bring me down. So when I see somebody like him, who only seems to have such positive energy if emotions are involved, it's a credit to his upbringing. It's a credit to his family, to his parents, to his team, to his coach, and mostly to him, right, for how he processes and how he aspires. And I wish everybody was as healthy as he appears to be when it comes to the mental health side of things.
Yeah, it's a great observation. But it was a different time, of course, and you've been in and around professional tennis for some 40 years, and it's been almost 20 years since your retirement. You spoke about that, learning to control that aggression. What was it like for you as a youngster coming up? What was the environment in tennis? What was your support team like?
Oh wow, that's a broad, big question. For me, it was started with my brother, really, because I was turned pro at 16 years old, and I was sort of had a real disconnect with the game. It's no surprise to anybody, because the biggest controversy in my book came on page 1, where I talked about hating tennis. So it's not a love-hate, it was a hate-love. It took me a long time to kind of come to terms with myself in many ways, understand myself, what have you, and there I was on a world stage acting out this rebellion, this exploration of who I was, trying to solve for those contradictions and what have you. But being on the tennis court was sometimes it was an escape, and other times it was full of landmines, so I never quite knew at that age. And so my team was really important to me, but not so much from a tennis side, just from a humanity side. I wanted to know there were things I could count on, and I didn't want tennis to be as important as it seemed to everybody, and sometimes as important as I treated it. I put so much pressure on myself that being able to escape that with my team meant a lot. So my brother early on when I turned pro, was a big deal, and then came my trainer a few years later that basically was my surrogate father. So he helped me. He was the first one to really teach me that I was worth caring about, which is never the way I really felt. He made my body strong, but he made my mind and my heart strong, and I always felt understood. But it was family. It was just like, again, some of the same themes, and really the tennis didn't hit a new level till my coach Brad Gilbert, who was able to simplify sort of all the tools that I had and give me a clear path of clarity when I was out there, of conviction of this is who you are on a tennis court, this is what you go to, this is what you need to do. I mean, then all of a sudden the game got simpler for me, and I started to be able to get proactive with the things I was doing as opposed to more reactive. And so he kind of taught me a lot about the strategy of all of it. And so I grew from mid-20s on, 24, went through a huge down period, but eventually came out of it again. So you don't always have the luxury of experience when you're that young, so turned pro at 16, and quick learning curve, or
absolutely
painful one though.
And you were very candid about all of this in your book. Many people have always been interested in you as a personality and you as a tennis player. Is there something that the world still doesn't quite understand about Andre Agassi as a person?
I don't know how much anybody can understand of anybody from a distance, right? I mean, what I put myself through on a tennis court is pretty reflective of what I put myself through in so many other parts of my life. It's the way I process. I'm a searcher at heart, and I'm not scared to ask tough questions, especially if those tough questions are directed at me. And I need inspiration, and sometimes I find it, and sometimes it finds me. And I think the mind and the heart are something that I wish were more connected more easily. And I spent way too long with the disconnect. I would feel something and not understand it, and get frustrated. Mentally with why I felt so strong about certain things. And other times, I would tell myself what I needed to do, but I didn't really feel inspired by it. So the greatest distance on earth is a distance between a person's mind and heart, and making that connection was a process for me.
Yeah, it's a lesson that I think many people learn, but at different stages in their life. What inspires you now?
A lot's happened since I've retired, starting with my memoir and building out my foundation. It's a sizable charitable foundation now, and figuring out some scalable ways to solve some societal, daunting societal issues. And I've scaled my mission and education across the country, back home in the United States, giving children choice, right? Because I never had it, and the biggest crime is children that don't have choice because they're just sort of bound to the downward spiral that the generations before them have, not graduating high school, not going to college, gangs, growing up in these. So I've built about 130 schools across the country in some real economically challenged areas. And anyhow, I've been motivated by giving to others what they deserve. They deserve a chance. So that's been a blast for me. We're at a different season in life now. Our kids are older. There's always needs, and you never stop worrying. But they're 22 and 20 now. So reconnecting with the game has felt really, really nice to come back down here. And I'm always open to where I'm at, and right now it's like I'm thrilled that it's here.
I know before in the cinema sessions you were talking about what it's like to return to Australia, and you mentioned it was still all the buzz and excitement but without the stress. Just unpack that a little bit, what it's like to fly into Melbourne, a place where you secured 4 of your 8 Grand Slam titles over your fantastic career, and it must be said only 9 appearances in Melbourne across the time. Yeah,
I skipped out on 9 of these opportunities, and shame on me. I mean, I lost out more than anybody in not being here the first decade of my career. But coming back just feels amazing. I mean, I spent so much, people think it's just winning the tournament or playing well down here. It's like you spend, like I spent 2 months only thinking about this event, training for it, preparing for it. Nothing in the fall on the tour ever came at the priority of, it was always about leading up to this. So sometimes I would play in the fall because I knew I needed to for this. Other times I wouldn't at all because I needed to train differently for this. So, you spend 2 months of your life only thinking about this, and then you're here for a month. So you're spending 3 months out of basically 10 on the road, kind of only thinking about preparing for this. So it would always hit me, and it always hit me at like championship point. It's like I'm not kidding.
What a time.
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't have a championship point that things weren't in hand, right? So the ones that happened here. So I'd go back and you wipe the towel off, wipe the sweat off your hat, and you get 3 balls. You give one back to the ball kid. You go through your ritual, and all of a sudden it occurs to you, like, how many times have I done this just these 2 weeks just to get to this moment? It's like there's just so much that goes into it, and the connection with the fans and the connection with those that helped you get to that point. I mean, it all comes rushing back, and life is about people, and being back here to see everybody is a big part of it.
You strike me as a real deep thinker, a real analyst of the human mind and the psyche and things of that nature. What do you think's the greatest lesson that tennis taught you that you wish other players would learn at a younger age?
I think tennis eventually teaches you, if you're open to learning, on how to be incredibly present. I mean, people talk about everybody's superstitions, so to speak, and they're not. I don't think in most cases. Some people might be superstitious as far as players go, but in most cases, I think they're rituals that remind you how important it is to be locked into this moment right now. And I think it's one of the last things you get great at, is how to forget what happened the point before, and how to not worry about problems that haven't even happened yet. How to know that this moment right now is the best thing you can do to getting yourself closer to any finish line, right? So living in the present is huge, and that doesn't start and end with tennis. That's life.
Yeah, true. Looking at the current crop of players, both men's and women's, which players do you see some of yourself in?
Oh, I don't. It's from a game perspective.
Game perspective, mind perspective, heart perspective.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, the game has changed significantly, since I played, and I mean, listen, I always have a soft spot for just a great ball striker. It's just, there's something about it that just makes me go, oh. I mean, it was the only piece I had on the tennis court is when I hit a ball dead perfect. I mean, literally. And so, I watch somebody like Sinner hit the ball. Yeah. And I just go, that's got to feel good.
The sound takes you back.
Yeah, the sound and so that, but I also like the IQ of it all. Watching, Medvedev kind of use what he does and the way that he does it, you can see that he is problem solving, constantly.
Absolutely.
And so I also love that, and you see somebody like Demonauer who's you just go, wow. I mean, look what he's done with what he has, and he has a lot. Don't get me wrong, but it just shows you what the human spirit's capable of. That guy fights, and the way he moves and the way he can't hit somebody off a court, but he can use his speed to open it and impose like a great deal of harm on somebody. And it's just, and seeing him in the top 10, and there's so much nuance to the game that I appreciate everybody's story in it. Alcaraz, I mean, come on, it's like how much fun is that watching watching him play? But does it remind me of me? I can't say it really does. I mean, I had my own tortures, and you don't know what's going on inside everybody else's head. But I respect those that know how to keep it in balance.
Yeah, I think the mystique and intrigue is part of the beauty of tennis as well, kind of working out what is going on inside someone's mind that you can't see from a distance.
Yeah, well, that's why we love sport, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons.
And finally, I just wanted to ask you your favourite memory of being here at Melbourne Park over your playing career or since. What's been the one thing that sort of is indelibly marked in the brain of Andre Agassi?
Yeah, I mean, forgive me if I don't remember if I'd mentioned this briefly in the front end of this interview, but it was not playing here for 10 years, wondering how I would be received or not received, and then coming down here and being embraced. You know, that will forever, I will forever be grateful for that, because I don't think I spent 1 year here not feeling like I was half Australian. You know, and I even mentioned that at one stage. Always loved it. I always loved how educated the fan was. They knew when one point meant more than another in many respects, and it always seemed to bring out the best in me. Which
you won it the first year.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt, does it? But you know, I still question: do you like places that you win at, or do you win at places you like? And in both cases, it's like it's an easy answer here. It's like I love it here, and I won here. I won here. I love it here. It's like it's there.
Just yes.
It's just yes.
Andre Agassi, thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful time here at the Australian Open, and we'll catch up around the traps.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.